Welcome to the Vigor Life Podcast, a source of inspiration, lessons, stories, skill sets, mindsets, and strategies to invigorate and expand all areas of your life. Let's go. Hey, what's going on? We have infiltrated the Ferruggia household, and Vigor Life Podcast is live here. And so here's the deal. We were just kind of like not enjoying the Kendrick Lamar new album, so you can shit on us however much you want to say. It's a little too Mario Bros for me. But what we're gonna do in today's show, this is dope because a lot of times I'm here and it's on Jay's show, and today we're doing it on the Vigor Life Podcast. But I wanted to cover like three areas because I was thinking about this. Like, okay, you know, what I want to touch on. And there's so many. Like when we have conversations, man, we talk about training and life and food and rap and just about everything. And then I thought about kind of like that breakdown that, you know, Tim Ferriss has in his book, like Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise. And I was like, all right, you know, based on where you are today, because going back, and I love the stories, I really enjoy the stories from the past. And by the way, like I wanted to jump, you know, when you guys did the Renegade gym episode with J.J. Blonsky, when you were talking about the stories from the old gym.
Right.
I'm watching it live and I'm pissed because I wanted to join the conversation because I'm just like, man, like this, you know, it was so relevant to, you know, when we started the garage, or the Vigor Ground Garage, and like the training was, you know, it's kind of like things that I just would not do like nowadays ever, but I loved doing them back in the day and I wouldn't change it for anything.
What year did you start that?
So 2007, 2008. So
okay.
It's right. It's coming on right around 10 years of starting the garage. I think it's probably like 9 something because before that I was at Vision Quest, the big box gym, and then LA Fitness. But I think, man, since we started the gym in Slovenia, it's probably going to be about 12 years now. So it's going to be 12 years, I think, from that one. So those stories were dope. But, you know, rather than, because we could probably talk about the old days a lot, and I'm sure we could do another episode on all those stories. But, you know, what would you today, see, I know how you train, but your philosophy on like, man, you know what, if you wanted to stay, you know, lean, strong, jacked, like what is like for you for the rest of your life? You know, and I wouldn't even say like now you're 40 and whatnot, but like from, let's say, your 30s, right? What would your philosophy be on training for somebody? Like in a bundle?
So for me or for the general person in their 30s?
For the general person.
Yeah. Okay, so I still lean towards, for most people, full body workouts, even though that's surprising because I don't love them myself. I have a love-hate relationship with them. Yeah. But I think the average person who's coming from not doing a lot, or maybe they're messing around doing the wrong thing, or maybe they're still doing like a body part split from the 80s. Well, I mean, that could work. I love that too. You can make it work if you're more advanced. But I think the average person probably... and this is a habit I've gotten into, and I don't know if you and I have even discussed this. I've tended to, because I worked with a lot of advanced guys and I was writing towards advanced guys, I've tended to speak towards advanced people a little too much.
Me and you, yep.
Yeah, so I think with the average, that sucks. But yeah, I would say full body workouts, like a push, pull, lower, some kind of core exercise, definitely extra work for your, your rear delts, your rhomboids, your upper back, more pulling than pushing. But low volume. So I think I've said this for years. I remember when I wrote this on T-Mag in like 2003 or something, or 5, and people were all pissed off. And that I still think volume is the biggest problem for most people, like too much volume. I think that excess volume causes too much cortisol release, too much localized inflammation, too much glycogen depletion. So I think, and training is more fun. Like if you're just doing volume, it's hard to set PRs all the time, you know? Like training's more fun for the average person. Like Questlove, I don't know if you follow Questlove. He posted something yesterday about like, he's trying so hard since the beginning of the year to eat right and train. And he's like, the struggle is real. He's like, I know a lot of you guys post how you're so great on Instagram, that you're always training all day. He's like, but that's not most of us. Like, we can't do this shit. And I was like, that's awesome. More people need to realize that, because we tend to like fitness people put themselves on a pedestal and, you know, kind of look down at people like, oh, if you're not training that much. But it's like, dude, it's hard. I
definitely, you know, I'm going to jump in because it's an example that just happened this week. So I got to talk about it to make a point, right? You know, in fitness, and if you look at the social media kind of like world right now, Instagram and Facebook and stuff, right? the fitness guy usually tends to try to bring the general person into their world.
Right.
Like, man, like you should start loving training 6-7 fucking days a week, right? Like,
yeah.
It almost like making you feel like there's something wrong with you. But the reality is that we need to go into their world.
Right.
And I was at a Reach, which is like this center of hope, and they help. I think we talked about this about they help homeless families in Renton. But the story from that was that I talked to a lady that essentially started asking about the gym. She was like, Eleanor told me about the gym, and she started explaining how she's like, I know that I need to, if I don't eat better, that's gonna fuck me over with my blood work and my cardiovascular health. And like she explained it, she's like, I'm not dumb, right?
Yeah.
I know that I need to move and exercise. I gotta, replace hip and knee and so on and so forth. She's like, I know all these things. The problem is like I literally there's such a threat and fear of fitness and going into a gym. And we had like this really candid 30-minute conversation after which she was like, wow, I really want to come try you guys out, because I said, you're absolutely right. We've made that mistake in the past. Sometimes when you walk in, like it can feel that way and so on and so forth. Yeah. But I think but here's a kicker, right? Is that guys feel the same way. And I've got this from guys in our gym, like, man, I feel very insecure a lot of times going to the big box gym into the free weight area, right?
Yeah.
Like who's looking at me and like, these guys are jacked, training 6-7 days a week.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that that's really the true picture of, one, what's going to help people out. Look, I'm definitely not I train 6-7 days a week. Like that's not normal.
Yeah.
Right. And nowadays I'm like, man, that's not normal. I'm not expecting anybody to do that. So the funny thing is when you say full body workouts, my first thing goes off is like, oh man, I like the upper lower split. Yeah. I like the upper lower split.
Right.
But then I take a pause and I go like, you know what? You're absolutely right. For somebody that's training 3 days a week.
Because someone coming in is not going to be that strong. So they're going to recover faster than you and I do. And then they can't tolerate a ton of volume. So you're not going to have them do something once a week or even twice a week. They might get sore. That's the way to dissuade someone from training. If they get sore, if they get achy, if it's complicated. So that's why I like, and I don't know about you, but I tend to put more exercises on a certain day when I split it up. Like if I'm going to do a full body, it can just be push, pull, lower. But now if it becomes upper body, I might do a vertical push, a vertical pull. Now it's a bunch of it's more stuff. Teaching. Yep, you know what I mean? So it becomes so simple to make it full body.
Yep. No, I agree with you on that one. The other thing too, because when people start, and I don't know if you've probably seen the research on this, but you only need about 40 to 50% of your max weight to actually see progress and strength. Right. So I think that when people start with, I would say, upper lower splits and stuff like that, they push that, right? Yeah. They're going to push it. And then you're kind of like the room for growth kind of gets smaller, because like why not start somebody slower, more frequently? They get to do the lifts more frequently, which is better for them learning the lifts, nervous system. They don't get exhausted, right? They don't get smoked, and they can kind of like progress longer before they hit plateaus. At least that's what, because when I go back, that's how I started. That worked really well. Yeah, and then when you've been training for 20 years. You forget about what you did. Right. So then you're like, oh no, this split is better because now I'm like putting on muscle like fucking 20 years later. Like that's not realistic, So, but you say like the 3 days a week and because I know with conditioning, I'm just a big fan of like 2 to 3 conditioning sessions a week and even now actually now that because I'm not a big fan of like, all right, I'm gonna go in and do 30 seconds on, 60 seconds off on the Airdyne. It just fucks with me, but I'll go play ball once a week. Right. Play for 2 hours. Smokes me, but I feel great. If I go on a hike, once the weather gets nice once a week, fantastic. I don't think about it as cardio. Mm-hmm. And then maybe 1 or 2 like really short sessions.
Now see, again, I think this is us thinking like us though, because I'm with you 100%. Yep. But the average person is either going to go to a gym like yours, or they're going to train at home. They're not going to play ball. I agree. Like I would love them to say, go play yourself into shape. I would say usually not going to do it unless they go to a martial arts class. I mean, some people will, but the majority of people, I think if you really dumb it down and simplify the fuck out of it, give them 3 strength training workouts and tell them to get on a bike or an Airdyne or something, they'll do it. I want to say go play a half hour hoops, but then they're not going to do it. You know what I mean?
It's almost like, to me, you could replace hoop with any type of activity that, like activity that makes it fun. Because you know what, I listen to a lot of people, and usually you're right. It's not the beginner. It's like an intermediate stage. It's like, you know what, I've started getting some results. They'll go to Soul Cycle or they go to Zumba. They go, you know what I mean? Like they'll go do stuff that they enjoy, and I'm like a huge fan of that because. You know, there's community, there's cardio, there's like you kind of connect fun and activity, right?
Yeah.
But I think the beginner stage, you're right, is like more structure, less threat for. This kind of leads back into the stuff that we went over with, Christian Thibodeau when we did the last seminar was about the different personality types, right? Novelty seeker versus somebody that's pain avoidance. You know, pain avoidance person like, hey, look, hey, here's your Airdyne for 10 minutes. You know. This protocol and here's this and do it, and they're like, cool, right? But then somebody that's a novelty seeker actually might be better off. Go do this, try this, whatever. And I am a big kind of believe. I don't want to put like too much into it, but I do think that you have to pay attention to what people are like. Yeah. And I don't think people do that enough. You know what I mean? Like this is just like common sense, understanding, communication. Like we're talking. And I'm like, yo, Jay, let's go play ball. And like, I see your facial features. Like, no, let's not go play ball. It's fucking. But let's go for a hike. And like, yeah, let's go for. Okay, cool, let's do that, right? Yeah. And it's simple. Something as simple as that. Like in training, it's the same thing. You could legitimately, talk about some type of cardio thing to a person, and you will see them. Do they just like tense up? Are they like relaxed and smiling? Is there like this huge like body change? And I think people need to study that because. It really is just like interpersonal communication, because it's not even going, hey, to be the greatest coach. Like you have to just be good at reading people. Yeah. And then figuring out like if somebody.
Well, I mean, that definitely leads to like another 2-hour conversation.
Absolutely.
Like you can. I'm a big fan of 80-20 and simplifying, but again, like certain guys, you could have two guys come in, both, let's say they're 42 and work on the stock market. One guy is going to enjoy training way harder and more variety, let's say, and the other guy's gonna get stressed out like, oh fuck, we're doing a new exercise. Like that'll stress him out and he'll like training less. Yep. Some guys, you could explain the science like, look, if you train sub-maximally, you'll feel better, you'll be ready to go all the time. If you do like a Mike Mentzer, Dorian Yates on every set, you're gonna be demolished the next day, you're not gonna be able to play ball and stuff like that, but he's still gonna wanna do that. So like you could really individualize the shit out of everything like that.
Yeah, but I think it is important because even I think Cressy just posted this thing about like introverts versus extroverts. Like what smokes them more. So like adjusting training to that person. Somebody is completely stressed out all the time. Like man, you gotta like you do have to adjust training to that. You just have to. Yeah. The thing I think that great coaches do is to be able to do it without the person knowing too much. Right. It's kind of like just, whether it's they want more volume, cool, I'll give you more volume, but it's going to be like lower intensity. It's going to make you feel like you're smashing, but I'm not going to destroy your nervous system because I know what I'm doing, right? Yeah. Essentially, but if you said, hey, for the from the age of 30, for the rest of your life, like you say, man, 3 days a week, like full body stuff is
yeah, I mean, if you're talking about training till like you're like 85, then I would see body weight and dumbbells too. Mm-hmm. I would avoid, power lifts, barbell lifts, Olympic lifts, because I know you can do those forever. I mean, body weight stuff.
Yeah, and that was where I was going to lead next, right? As far as would you change that? Like knowing what you know now, like would you have done less? Would you have done less at the power lifts? You would have done less?
Yeah, 100%. I would have done them smarter. Would have done them safer. I would have gone way sub max on. Okay. Where I still have, like you, I still need to push myself really hard, but I would do that on chest supported rows and ring push-ups and stuff like that. I would have held way back. I would have made sure I did everything with perfect form, because we did a lot of stuff with very imperfect form. Yeah. I just would have done less of it for sure. And I wouldn't have gone so heavy all the time. Like we did a lot of 1 to 3s for years. I wouldn't have done that. I would have stayed in like the 6 to 8 range on those. Maybe done them, second or third in the workout.
I would have to kind of back you up on this. Looking back, once again, more focus on form, especially when starting to go like heavy or explosive lifts. When we did that, I would have used other methods of intensification, negatives and pauses, to kind of elicit progress. and not same thing, going ass heavy, man. There was times where I would just like fucking do just, you know, like just 12 sets of 2, like, you know, 500 pound deadlifts, you know, and just crazy, and like consistently, right? I would, looking back now, I changed it. And the thing is, I don't even know it, you know, I would have loved to be able to see like the 2 alternate fucking worlds right now, right? Like, I don't even know if I would have had, you know, worse results. I think it made it, I probably would have had better results. I legitimately think that I would have better results. Now looking back, I'm like, man, I smoked my nervous system so often that, you know, I think that that's what people need to really look at is, hey, you know, this whole chasing fatigue, you know, is it stemming from something else other than like actually thinking that you're chasing results? I think that's a big thing. I definitely 100% would have changed that.
I agree for sure.
When I was younger. So that covered. I mean, here's the thing, right? Because you also like this, because I'm under healthy. I want to go into the nutrition aspect of things, because you're a person that doesn't count the calories, and you know, you're not like I mean, I have an idea of where I'm at. Yes, exactly. But you know, you're if you had like the elevator pitch of nutrition, and because I'd like to hear yours, and I mean I'll kind of cover mine as well. And I don't think, once again, I think that how you teach nutrition and educate and coach nutrition is different for different people, absolutely. But the overarching kind of 10,000 foot view, like what's your view on it now? Because I mean, man, you're healthy and you're lean, and you know you're in your 40s, and like, man, most people I think would say, hey, shit, I want to, you know, be like that when I'm that age. But what is your viewpoint on that?
All right. So I would say that you should start with a plant-based diet. Most of your food, I like Michael.
I was about to say, give it a little more pause there, because that's you know, that's pretty intense. But I'm gonna kind of support you there, but I want to hear the rest. All right.
So I like Michael Pollan's thing, where he says, eat real food, mostly plants, not a lot. And because if you eat an excessive amount, no matter what it is, that causes free radical production, aging, inflammation. Even if you're eating the best food in the world, it's still not the best thing to be eating all day and stuff like that. So I would say plant-based diet, lots of fruits and vegetables first and foremost. And then paleo-ish, in that you avoid junk food. You eat real food that you could pick or grow. I don't think, like, I laugh and I've read every one of those studies when people talk about the thermic effect of protein, and that if you take a guy who's overweight and raises protein from 150 to 300, he's going to lose fat faster. No, he's not. Just, it's not going to happen. I think that's stupid. And I think that's just not healthy long term. Like, if you talk to anyone who is a real longevity specialist, people who cut people open, like real doctors and stuff like that, they don't tell you to eat a ton of meat. Like the meathead world, the fitness world can argue that it's fine, but even Rhonda Patrick recently has come out and said eating a ton of meat's probably not good long term. I just don't think it's smart. And I know for a fact that when we went vegetarian, and I had a lot of people do this that have been experienced fitness people, like training for years. Me, my brother, Sean Hyson, John Alvino, Mike DeSanti, Jen. That's 6 of us. There were 7 or 8 who had all trained for at least 10 years and done every diet under the sun at a super advanced level. Every one of us, our immune system was better than ever. We got sick less than we ever did, and we recovered faster than we ever did. Like, we had less inflammation, less pain. Now, that's being said, Tony Gonzalez and a couple people have had that same experience, but then they start to lose a little bit of muscle mass and whatnot. If you bring in a little animal protein, I feel like that's ideal. And I always want to look at health and longevity first and foremost. Like, you can eat, there's a difference between health and longevity, eating for that, eating for performance, and eating for physique. So what I mean by that, like, eating for physique, you may have less carbs and less fat than is what optimal for health. You know what I mean? Like, if your fat's too low, your testosterone might drop, but you can get leaner. Carbs too low, your performance in the gym or on the field might drop, but you can get leaner. So for performance, like if you're a running back, you can carry a little extra body fat, and you probably should. So you're not worried about physique as much. If you're a speed position player, it's different. You know what I mean? There's so many different levels, but overall general rules, if you eat, I say eat for longevity first and foremost. You don't eat as much protein as bodybuilders and all that think. Most people don't. Yeah. So a couple points. One, you actually surprised me there, which I'm glad I brought this stuff up right now. But because I'm sure I could probably get away with eating less protein. I eat a lot of fucking protein. That's for sure. You know this well. Yeah. But you know,
because I forgot who said this, but it was almost like vegetarian with a side of meat, right?
Yeah.
And I kind of like that idea. Now, but you kind of see if somebody goes, switches to fully plant-based, and they see a lot of benefits, but then they continue to stay plant-based. They're like usually not getting certain nutrients.
It's hard. You're going to be deficient. You got to bring some stuff back, I think. Like if you just had a vegetarian diet and you had salmon a few days a week, you'd probably be fine. Or if you had some eggs, And
then, I'm supplementing too, but I probably would veer. Because I do agree on the part that like most people eat more than what they think, because this is kind of essentially what fitness is really kind of ingrained. You know what I mean?
It's very rare that someone's protein deficient. I mean, no one's protein deficient in this country, but even if you're trying to get in shape, it's pretty rare.
Yeah, no, I agreed on that for sure. What I probably need to like really go, and I eat a lot of like fruit and veggies and stuff, but like I think that what I need to do is go like 30, 60 days, like really hardcore on like bumping up my veggies, fruits, cutting down on certain things, and then seeing how I feel to really have more, better feedback on it. I mean, I definitely know that I'd never cut out, all proteins and eating stuff like that. I think that the answer, at least for me, kind of lies somewhere, down that continuum, because I think that, with nutrition, you kind of want to like look at the intersection of all those three: body composition, health, and performance. Right? Like if you're just, I don't know, coaching or just doing nutrition so that you can improve one, like you're gonna be fucked down the line, right? Like you look leaner, but you can't perform, and your health is shit. Like, or you're eating, the best granola and the best, fruits and veggies, but you're eating too much. And you look like shit, and same thing, like you can't perform, right? Like, I mean, I don't think any of those kind of fit longevity, right? Long term. I think that you can kind of, it's almost like that analogy of the like main course, appetizer, dessert. Like what do you want more of? Well, I'm a bodybuilder, or I'm a physique person. Like, man, you might push that a little bit. I'm a performance guy. You might push that a little bit. But I mean, that's a good point. I think some people will probably might argue on that with the.
But I mean, look, if you look at the blue zones where people live the longest, I like to base diet off of that, and then like we talked about, if your goals are performance or physique, tweak it a little bit. Like maybe add some stuff, reduce some stuff. But I think if you're eating for longevity, you can't go wrong.
Agreed. And as you brought up the blue zones, because I'm like really, really intrigued, and hopefully doing the documentary and that second part or third part of the documentary for the movement culture in Japan. And go into Okinawa and like kind of actually really seeing like firsthand what's going on. And one of the things that was brought up there was that that the most important, because blue zone nutrition is somewhat different. I mean, it doesn't completely, like in Greece, it doesn't match the one in Japan. The one thing that they said, and to me this is, I think, very important, is like they have a ikigai, right, which is like meaning. Right, that all those people have meaning in life, right? They get up, they move a lot,
community and all that.
They're happy, like they the 104-year-old karate guy. Like his meaning is to teach kids karate till he dies. The fisherman, so on and so forth. And the thing is, I started seeing this everywhere. When we went to Brazil, this was the dopest thing, right? My brother was interviewing this guy that was like a high-level surfer, but he was like teaching surf also, right? And I said it was so funny. I thought of you right away, because we were talking about that the Mexican fisherman, the Mexican fisherman. And he's literally, he's just telling this story. He doesn't even know the story of the Mexican fisherman, and he's pretty much telling this story. And he's going like, well, I teach these millionaire and billionaire, executives how to surf, and like the first thing, they're so stressed out of their mind. They come down here with bodyguards to the beach, and they come here and like everything disappears, and I teach them this, and I get to do this all day long. This is what I love to do. So I'm not stressed out the rest of the day, because I'm doing what I love to do. I'm on the ocean. I'm teaching kids. I'm teaching these executives, while that guy is doing a 12, 13, 14-hour day. And he comes here and he tells me like how stressed the fuck out he is. So happy to be there. But I think there's a point there, like same thing. That man, the guy was like, I don't know, 50, I think it was like 57 or something, but like looked amazing, right? But I think part of it was, it's just like, man, the dude was happy because we saw him there like multiple days. He's surfing. He's always happy. He's never, you know, and I think part of that is that whole meaning, you know, and so we could talk about a lot of things, you know, and how your health is influenced, but you could probably eat pretty damn good and train and be stressed out of your mind the whole time.
Yeah, at the end of the day, that's the most important thing.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
But that's a good point. I think I'm going to actually take on that because as you were saying it, I'm like, man, you know what? I probably fucking eat too much protein. Yeah. But I think I just want to test it, man. Like I know I've played around with a lot of things, but I've never really like dove into that, like to say, man, I bumped that up to the nth degree.
Wait, so you never tried? Because I remember for years I tried going as high as 400 grams a day.
Dude, I would say that there's probably days that I hit that now.
Oh, okay.
But not because
I did that consistently because I was trying to. Yeah.
Daily hitting that.
Shit. Oh yeah. I there was a couple weeks I couldn't maintain 5, but I was getting like.
You were shooting for that?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, because I remember when I was 200, I was trying to get 2 grams per pound. I was doing 400. And then I revisited that a couple years later when I was 220 and I was trying to get like 450 or so.
Could you remember like could you actually say like, hey, this is how I felt because of that?
I just remember, I would do it. I would do each of those for a long time, like 90 days, and nothing happened other than I was just way gassier. I was shitting more. I felt awful. You know what I mean? Just like more recovery. No better recovery. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I think that I probably
got fatter.
That's when you were like 240 or something, right?
220 something.
220 something.
Yeah.
I think that I probably hit like 1 per pound of body weight a day and don't really trip about. But that's what I'm saying. Like, what would it be like for me if, you know, I did 30, 40, 50% less, bumped up my, you know, my veggies and stuff. I'll be interested. So like I'm kind of interested to see that, and actually go with it. So with that, man, I could talk about this stuff forever. But to move into this I really wanted to touch base on because of like where you are right now. And I know sometimes you go like on the business discussion. This doesn't necessarily have to be business, but if you know, I know you do, you know, what you love, but from a perspective of, and it doesn't even have to be this gym owner thing, man. Let's just call it business, right? If you went to coffee with somebody you cared about, and they're like, Jay, listen, man, like I don't like what I do, man. Just give me your best advice on, you know, kind of finding something that you love doing and, you know, sticking with it for the rest of your life. And then that's with obstacles and struggles and everything. If this was just like an over coffee conversation with somebody you really care about, and you're like, look, let me just give you the down low what I think from your experience now doing this for a long time.
I would say it's got to be something that you would do for free, but that you could also monetize. Because there's a bunch like, what do you really love that you would do every day? And you're going to probably do every day, you know, partially as a hobby or whatever. And then how can you legitimately monetize it? Because there's definitely a few things that I would do for free that I love, but there's no way I can monetize.
No way to monetize it. Yeah.
So you need to be realistic about it. Like you could drop everything and say, okay, I'm going to move into a studio in like the worst ghetto and try to like make it happen. But I'd be realistic about it.
Do you? Yeah, because I know you've never recommended it. I absolutely don't. You get some people that say, I mean, dude, what do you think about that? Like the people that say, like, you know,
go all in?
Yeah. You know, I mean, it sounds good on a meme and like, you know, as a quote on Facebook and stuff. But I'm actually, I'm kind of against that, you know, and because I talk to a lot of people that have, you know, families, careers, payments.
That's
like
the point. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If you're starting out, if you're 18 or something and you're already broken nowhere, sure, do that. Yep. If you're 20, like if you just graduated college, but you're working at El Pollo Loco and living in a shitty place, like what's the risk?
Who gives
do
a
it.
Shit? Yeah, exactly.
Move into an even shittier place and go all out for 5 years. But if you're 35 and you're like, oh fuck, I don't know, I wouldn't say do that. I would say, all right, work 9 to 5. Figure out ways that you can start, like there's books you can read and whatnot to figure out how you can start working outside of the office, working from home on a Friday or half a day, you know, get home 9 to 5, hang out with the family, whatever, then work 9 till 11 at night, whatever it is, 9 till 12, work on your side gig. You know, you got to hustle. Everybody knows it's not the healthiest thing to work 24/7, but the thing is so many successful people have done it. You kind of have to do it for a while at least. For a few years, and a few years might turn into 10. Eventually, hopefully, you realize that and you can scale it back a bit. But I would say keep whatever it is you're doing now to make money, but really you can't waste time though, because like nobody's promised tomorrow. So if you're bummed out and you hate work, figure it out today. Like, okay, what do I really love and how can I monetize that? What do people tell me I'm good at? And ask your friends, like send out emails or texts, be like, hey man, I'm on a journey of personal development and growth. I want to try it. Like, I trust you. I really value your opinion. What do you think I'm really good at? And then just sit and think, go to a flow tank or whatever and think like, what do people ask me for advice on? What can I share? And then figure out a way to monetize it. And anybody can build a successful business on the internet these days, as we know. Once you have that one thing, then I would do one thing to promote it. Like, don't say, okay, I like doing X, Y, Z, and then tomorrow start a podcast, a video show, a blog, email, Facebook, Instagram. Like, you got to pick one. Otherwise, it's way too overwhelming. So read the book, The One Thing, and Essentialism, and
a lot of great points. The number one thing that maybe I didn't think that way back then, but thinking about that you got 24 hours in a day, and let's say you're pretty good with sleep and you get 7, right? Mm-hmm. It leaves you 17. Like in this day and age, like any job, once you add in, even if you work an 8-hour job, which I don't think exists anymore, kind of, sort of, right? But it's like if you add in travel time and all that shit, like it's 10. Right? And so really your waking hours, like 50% during Monday through Friday, I mean, more than 50% Monday through Friday, but like definitely 50% throughout the week, that you are doing something you fucking don't like doing.
Yeah.
Like, or hate. I mean, that realization to me
is no way to live.
Yeah, it's just no.
But people have to be willing to stop wasting time though, is what I'm saying. Like, when you're traveling home on your commute, you should be listening to something that's going to get you to your next level. Like, educate yourself. And then instead of going home and watching some awesome show on Netflix, which I do, and they're great, like watch a documentary or learn more or read or like always be working towards your goal if you're miserable. Because then you can't complain. Like, you can't complain if you're not taking action, doing something about it.
And the thing is
like, you could skip watching every series and every Marvel comic for the next 5 years, and then you'll be where you want to be, and you could watch Netflix 10 hours a day if you want after that.
And I think that is sometimes escapism from like, reality.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Like overwhelm, fuck it. Like, I'm going to watch this. I don't have to think about it.
Right. And people need that.
Yeah.
But you got to limit it to like,
I do, because I think you work to it. It's like you said, man. Like at the beginning, like I've yet to I don't know, meet someone that from the beginning just didn't hustle like their balls off. You know what I mean? Like we talked to Berardi, right? It's like, hey, starting another company, for instance, right now you could do it different, but I don't think you ever learn. Like, I don't think you ever learn if you don't go through like the hustle or the grind. And like, for me, growing up being an athlete. Same thing, man. Like, I had to put in the extra hours of work and stay later and lift the weights extra and all that shit. And then later on, it was like, oh man, there's a better way to do it.
Yeah.
But it taught discipline and all this other stuff. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, man, a lot of good points. Are we on a time crunch or anything like that, my brother? We are on a little bit of time crunch.
Oh, all right.
But still, okay. So two things. What's exciting you in business right now, and what is exciting you in something personal, like that you're looking forward to, right? So if you look ahead and say, man, like this is something that I want to do in business that I'm really fired up about, whether it's something that can get you paid or something that maybe is more philanthropic, and the same thing with personal life, whether it's like adventure trips, things like that. Is there something that comes to mind?
So I talked about the one thing. So I'm going to say, just for me, the podcast has been growing consistently. So that's what I'm excited about, and keeping to grow that. And I'm excited, as we didn't really discuss it on this episode, but as you know, years ago I would never been able to do this, or speak in front of an audience or get in front of a camera. So I just enjoy doing that more, and I'm excited for the potential I see with that. So that's really my main thing with business, continuing to grow the podcast. And personally, it's kind of similar in that I can perform on stage and improv, and I've been back consistently. I had a little layoff from improv, and I had a good show last weekend, and I have more stuff lined up. So, yeah. And
for everybody out there, I'm pretty much signing up for improv in Seattle, because it's just I can't watch you keep doing this shit anymore, and I always miss it when I come out here. And I think it'll. I mean, I got to a point, because the same thing. I was never great at like speaking that much, especially when I came here to the States. I'd say the American college actually really helped me with that, because you're kind of put into positions where you got to present a lot. So that was good for me, but I'm stepping up and doing that because I think it's going to do a ton for me, and I've seen how much it's influenced you. And for anybody that wants to be better at communicating, that wants to speak in front of audiences, the way that it makes you think and come up with stuff, man. One of my favorite things now I love doing is when you go like, hey, you want to do an improv game here? And I'm like, fucking, it's awesome, right? We had fun with that last time. I definitely say do that, and man, like. I always say, like, do your behaviors match your goals, and look at your wallet and look at your bank account and look at your calendar, and do they align? Where you're spending your money, where you're spending your time. Do they align with the things that you want to do in life? And more so than ever, like I shot this last podcast. Being in Brazil, we kind of talked about this. Just doing these things that just don't cost anything, whether it's learning based or it's just. Enjoying, like being in flow, like being with people that I care about and love. I think that the fastest way to make your life more full, and fulfilled is like spend more time with the people you love that make you better.
Definitely.
And, educate yourself more. So like be around, whether it's seminars and books, and the number 3 would be go to places where you can give people more value. And that can be, you don't have to necessarily go into the, poorest places on earth, but I think that is helpful for perspective, but how much can you do in a community, man? Like I still am actually like blown away by how many things I don't see, that like going out, finding organizations that you support.
Yeah. You're great at that. People underestimate that. I think that's a great point. Like the more people can get involved in their local community, it's amazing. It
blows you away when you go, right? It's different. Like, man, like writing a check is one thing. I think it's great. I think it's great. But it's different when you go talk to the people that run these organizations and talk about what the people are going through and what they're really supporting. You know what I'm saying? Like, so when I went to Reach and like seeing these homeless families and stuff, and like the lady telling me like, hey, here's the stuff that we need help with. Here's what happens, and you're just so like blown away because you actually get true perspective. Or if you go to the dog shelter, just finding out more about it. Or if you go to, like Seattle Children's for kids that have cancer, which unfortunately I had to go last week because of my friend. But it's like, man, you're there, and then you start learning these things, and you go like, oh shit, right? And then it's like, well, what do you guys need help with? So that's what I'm just doing a lot of now. What do you guys need help with? And if you have a platform, remember, one, if you have a business, I think your business can be like so much more than just the service it provides. It can be, it can be a catalyst for other people helping out community, raising money through charity events. I think if you're an individual, everybody has skill sets, and like you can go out and help. And man, like that, I'm just investing a lot of my time, both personally and as a business in that. And I think that can be huge. I don't know. I just wanted to bring that up because these last couple of weeks, I really has been really kind of powerful for me.
You've been immersed, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been immersed, and it's been amazing. So, I think that's a great point. And with that said, I think it would be really cool. We'll talk about this. What are some things we can do together so you create like this experience of like giving back, right? But also, getting an experience out of it. For Brazil was kind of like that to me, where I was there shooting a documentary, but then I was involved in all these other things, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. So you're giving back, but you're also like you're getting adventure, you're getting experiences, you're getting perspective.
Yeah. See, I'm right with you where my passion, I still think that it all begins with your fitness, like Arnold's always talked about and whatnot. So helping people get fit, and I don't really care about them squatting 500 pounds. I mean, literally just fit, you know what I mean? Because if you're not healthy, you can't take care of other people and whatnot. But that's first and foremost. And then if I could inspire people to do what you're saying, like just get involved and give back in some way, like it's my second, like that's my next biggest passion. I love that. So
I think you're right about like, it's hard. I mean, like if you're not fit, and I think it's like mentally, physically, like it becomes difficult. Yeah. Because in so many ways there's threat, right? I mean, we understand threat. It's like there's pain, there's this, there's that, right? And it's like it's hard to pursue all the things that you want in your life. Your body is your temple, and man, like that's the. I mean, I think that's why we started. That's why I'll never want to leave. And it's funny because we've had this conversation, right? Like of you grow, and for me it's like I've been a coach for a long time, and then had gyms for a long time, and then people are like, what's next? And I'm like, well, there's a bunch of what's next, but I don't ever really want to leave this industry. You know what I mean? It's like it's funny. I see a lot of people going like, I think I've outgrown the industry. What the fuck does that even mean? I don't even know what that means. We've outgrown helping people get fit and changed.
Yeah.
Wow, that's weird. There's other things that kind of now I'm going like, man, I don't want to do that too. But for me, the foundation of it is always, being a coach in some way.
Yeah.
And, it's like that thing that Jewel said. You want to be famous or you want to be an artist.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm like, man, I chose to be an artist / coach a long time ago, and like I'm never gonna change that.
Yeah.
And like to me, it's like I want to become the best in the world, and if fame or whatever you want to call it comes with that, great. If not, like I'm fulfilled, and there's so much meaning behind what I do that I could give a shit like about the other stuff, because that doesn't that's not fulfilling. Fame's not fulfilling. Like doing what you love is, you know what I mean?
It's cool hearing you say that because Bedros Keuilian, a friend of ours, recently said that first and foremost, he's always a fitness professional. And I found that so inspiring because B, financially is super successful and could branch out. There's not a business that he couldn't help. He could go into helping anyone in any business, like guys on Shark Tank or whatever, but he chooses to remain in fitness, where even some guys have got out of and said, oh, I've outgrown fitness or whatever, because he's like, no, that changed my life, and that's the biggest way I could change people's life. And he's like, and still deep down from a psychological perspective, I'm still helping myself because I was still that chubby kid, and I'm still working on that, so. Agreed.
And here's the other thing too, like, so, and this is my call to everybody out there in the industry that to become better and better and better and never actually like give up on this, is because as an industry, obviously we're not winning, right?
No.
So it's like, why the fuck would you leave when it's the war is just getting started type of thing, right?
Yeah.
I think that becomes like a giving up type of thing more than anything.
Yeah.
And I'm not judging or anything. Like if somebody has a different calling, cool, but
well, I know some people in the fitness industry can get bummed out when they look at other people who are assholes and say, oh, I don't want to be associated with that. I got to get out of that. Because you have douchebags in their little camps and they talk shit about other people, which is crazy. Like it's such a waste of your time, and it is bringing down the whole fitness industry.
Agreed.
Like you should never do that. Like if you just want to train guys for physique contests, cool. If you want to train football players, cool. Like why knock everybody else? Just do your thing, bring everybody else up. When the water levels rise, the boats rise too, So I think that's stupid, but people who are getting bummed out and not wanting to be associated with that, because I can relate. Like if you see some embarrassing shit from some of those guys talking shit, you're like, I don't want to be associated with this. Is so bad. The average person on the street doesn't know who you're talking about. Like they're not associating you with that. They have no idea. And what I would say to those people in the industry, stop paying attention to so much shit. Unfollow people. Like just think about your mission, what you're passionate about. Don't worry what every other guy thinks of it. Like it's scientifically correct or not, whatever. As long as you're not hurting people, obviously the first rule is do no harm. But like you don't need a pat on the back from everyone in the fitness industry. You need to help the guy who's walking down Main Street, or the pro football player, whatever your niche is. But don't worry about what everyone else is doing so much, what everyone else thinks.
Because it becomes such a contest that from the outside looking in, people start going like, these are the people that are going to help me.
Yeah.
They can't even get along, right? But I really do think that, man. Like I keep going back to that, Steve Martin quote. Be so good they can't ignore you.
Yeah.
And going back to the Maya Angelou quote of like, people forget what you say and do, but they never forget how you make them feel.
Yeah.
And man, if you kind of like, and once again, do no harm, but like, man, if you kind of live by those things, I think you're well off. And I'm always open to constructive criticism, and feedback. Like, man, even like right now talking to a bunch of stuff, like there's certain things I was like, man, you know what? I need to dig a little bit deeper into that. Maybe I don't know enough. Maybe I need to try some stuff out. And that's cool. And I'm willing to, go and admit it and whatnot. But man, it's just like, just constantly get better, man, and treat people great. Everybody. Like, you know what I mean? It's not just, man, treat other fitness professionals great, other people, your clients better. Like you can never get too good at like treating people in an amazing way. I've never met a person that's just like the champion of the world and can, you know what I mean? Like you can always get better at that. And with that said, it's probably like past the time Gene's gonna be late or something. But dude, man, as always, fire. Thank you for taking over the den. And reversing roles here, man.
Yeah.
So appreciate you. Oh, by the way, I mean, and I'm sure everybody kind of knows where to go, but if not, where can they find out more about you? I know especially your podcast, the site.
Yeah, it's Renegade Radio Podcast on iTunes, renegaderadiopodcast.com, and jasonferruggia.com, or Renegade Strength Coach or renegadefitness.com will redirect you there, since my name is hard to spell and remember. So, yeah.
All right, perfect, man. Thank you. Cool. Appreciate you guys. We'll be back with the next episode. Peace out.